Hey guys, this is Dark. Welcome back to VR Therapy. Thank you for joining in, tuning into this episode. For today's episode, it's going to be a little different. Rather than interviewing someone else or talking to someone else about the things they've been through, we're going to be talking about me and something that I've been through. So, I have no script for this, no questions set up or anything. But to be honest, this issue has been sitting in my head for a while. I feel like it's good for me to share my experiences with it because not a lot of people either have not gone through this, but if they have gone through this, they understand as well. And it's something that unfortunately, if you're about to go through, I think it's always good to have a heads up or to sort of know what to expect. So I'm bringing myself back to that headspace about 2 years ago. It was July 1st? And I'm going to share with you my experience, and yeah, I'm really going to get into it. We're going to dig deep. My mom just died. For me, it did happen 2 years ago. When you do lose someone very close to you, to be honest, it does seem like yesterday for the longest. Even shocks me thinking that's literally 2 years ago. So a little backstory. So my mom, she had breast cancer way before she passed. She was dealing with breast cancer for a total of 8 years. And she had it for, I think, about 3 to 4 years. It went away for about a year or two, and then it came back. And then it started going throughout the rest of her body. At first, when she got through chemo and everything the first time, so happy and everything, and I was just elated. I was like, oh my God, thank you. And when it came back again, I was devastated. You rarely hear about people getting through past breast cancer a second time. And I really didn't know how to handle it at that point. It was very hard because then the first time that happened, there was no possibility that she was sleeping. In my head, I knew she was going to be okay. But the second time, that's when the possibility of her not being here anymore set in. And I really tried to process that, but it was a lot. As she went through her chemo and her treatment the second time, it just wasn't working. I could see how weak she would get. And yeah, I knew that those were the side effects of chemo. You're getting weaker. But it's a possibility of getting rid of the breast cancer. So one outweighs the other in a sense, but it was really taking a toll at her. And then the cancer started spreading. It spread to her lungs, her spine, her eyes, her liver, and it would just go throughout her entire body. To be honest, it was really bad. And at this time, I went off to college, and the whole family was split. So I went to college. Dad was in Virginia because he was in the military. He was getting his papers ready to transfer to come live with my mom in Georgia. One sister went to Atlanta for school, and the other sister stayed at home with my mom. I commend my middle sister so much. She really was there for my mom, and I can't even imagine the pain of seeing your mom decline in health daily, having to drive her to her doctor's appointments and everything, but still have to deal with that thought in the back of your head that, hey, she may not be here anymore. This is the end. So she really did deal with that. And I'll come in every now and then when I got my breaks to come see her because I wanted to alleviate that stress, but also wanted to be there for her, my mom and my sister and the rest of my family as well. Yeah, it was just really hard to deal with. So what really hit was when I think I was in Jacksonville with my girlfriend, and I received a call from my mom, and it was just it was distorted. It was just gibberish almost. It didn't make sense. The words weren't being put together well, and her voice sounded shaky. Everything sounded really bad. That hit really bad. And it's weird because I was trying to enjoy the time with my girlfriend, and I was in such a good mood, and then that call hit, and I was like, okay, I need to go home immediately, and I did. I think we spent the night, and then I woke up and I drove up to Georgia. Also, this was when the middle sister who was with her, she went to college too. And then my dad was with my mom. He moved to Georgia. And I tell you that a 2.5 hour drive was really rough. I think I took the entire drive without listening to any music or anything like that because I just could picture how she looked just by hearing her voice. And I was so surprised because it's everything happened so quick. The last time I saw her, it wasn't as bad. But when I pulled up to the driveway, I think I sat in the car for a while just to try to prepare myself. Because I really do try to think I do try to think logically. I sort of triage my feelings, but not in a way to be where I can't express them or feel them. But I do know that there are times where I need to do things logically. And then I can also feel a little bit then, but also later as well. So I got up, I went in. She was laying on the couch. She was so thin. I went up to see her. Her mouth was open a little bit. She said my name, but it was very distorted. And it was she, I don't know, it was she wasn't there. She couldn't it's like she could understand sentences, but she couldn't like say anything. Very slow, broken, and it hurt because I wanted to be there for her, and I felt like I couldn't because I'd never seen her in that state. My dad was totally broken. My other sister was coming down, and the middle sister was also coming down as well. Fast forward, it was a very rough next couple of days. Completely took off of school, took off everything. I was in a pre-med route, and I'm in med school right now. I want to be a doctor. With my limited knowledge that I had, I was studying nonstop, trying to find up like holistic cures or anything to cure cancer, the kind of cancer she had. But there would be times where like she would be in bed, and because we had to carry her everywhere, she was in a wheelchair, she barely could move, she sat in the couch. But there would be times where like we'd all have to like take shifts. So me, my dad, and my younger sister. 'Cause my older sister was coming down, but it was taking a little longer, and it was heartbreaking being up at like 3 a.m. for a couple hours. Because you have to be out to make sure everything's okay. If she's not breathing or something happened, and you just hear like this like gargling sound of like it's like she's so hard to breathe. You try to like be on your phone, try to like disconnect yourself a little bit from, but you hear it and it hits and it hits and it hits and it's crushing. Fast forward a little bit more, thinking about getting a caregiver to come at the house and watch after her as well, just like long term, like change her, just like make sure like help out, because we would have stayed there forever. But I told my dad, my sister, I'm like, we need somebody to come in as well. So she came, she was helping out. It helped out a lot. I believe then, and it's a little hard to recall some of like the really bad parts. It was just really traumatic, honestly, and it's like I remember like little phases of it. So this is the first time in a long time that I'm putting it all together back again and like reliving the experience. I remember a doctor came, and I think to do a checkup, and this doctor was like terrible. Not the type of doctor that I don't know. I could sort of understand where she was coming from, but at the same time, this is not how you do it. It's not the way I would do it. Not the way that I will do it in the future. But she was like, yeah. She was like examining her and stuff, and then she came downstairs. She's like, yeah, you have like, she won't make it till Saturday. She's gonna pass till Saturday, so get everything. So be ready. I'm like, what? I'm like, that's I know the condition she's in, but you can't say that. Like, you have no dominion over that. You have medical knowledge, of course. I think it was a nurse. Sorry, nurse. Excuse me. Yeah, it was a nurse. Like, you have medical knowledge, of course, but you don't say that. You can't say that. And I'm a very religious person, and I truly believe God has control of everything. And if it was her time, it's her time. But I also believe in God keeping her here if he wants her to stay here. So that was very difficult. And then we had another nurse come over. No. Then a doctor came over, and she said, yeah, she's not looking that good. But to be honest, there's no saying, like, she's like, I believe in a very powerful God. And I've seen medical mysteries be cured due to prayer and whatnot. And yeah, so we kept that faith. Time came to where, backtracking a little bit, and I'm sorry I'm moving in like so many random places. I'm putting this together, as I said, for the first time in a while. Backing up, like, she wasn't eating a lot, and that was because the cancer in her liver is like, her liver just started to grow. It's pushing her stomach to where like her stomach barely had anything, like any room. So she would barely eat an egg. Got to the point that since she was barely doing that, she wasn't getting nutrients for her body, so it was hard for her to chew or do anything like that as well. We started making her shakes, which she would drink down, but I guess it wasn't enough. So fast forward to we called an ambulance to come pick her up because she needed to go to the hospital, and then they took her to the hospital. She was hooked up all these wires, IVs, etc. The doctor did some more tests, and they're like, so the reason that she couldn't talk or why everything was so broken was because her calcium levels were too high because the cancer reached her bones, and the bones were breaking up with calcium, and it was going throughout the blood. And I was like, okay. And then they also told us that they were giving her a medication that would, in a sense, stabilize her calcium level. So that was great news to me, because I was like, perfect. If there's like if there's a problem and then there's a solution, we can find solutions to every single problem that my mom had. I remember they even said like her kidneys were bad. She may need to be on dialysis. I'm like, we will put every penny down to make sure that she's still living and get her back. Not really get her back, but get her living in a stable condition. So I remember we went home, Dad stayed in the hospital, and then I think it was like Monday morning at like 3 a.m. I get a call, and it's my dad. I'm like, hey, Dad, and he's like, hey, I need you and your sister to get to the hospital. I just need you to drop what you're doing and get to the hospital. He said it like that, and I was trying to hold it together for my sister, but it seemed like she was holding it together way more than I was. We're driving like a 30-minute drive. When we get there, we're walking up to the room, and we hear like this gargling sound. It's like a breathing, gargling sound, as if there's like a lot of phlegm stuck in your throat. My dad comes up to us. He said, the nurse and the doctor checked her. This is something called I think it was the death gargle or something like that. And that's when someone breathes like that because there's like just not enough energy to breathe at that point. So that's like the final sign for saying they're like on death's door. They have a couple hours left to live. So hospice came, they put her in the hospice house, and we were there. It was rough because at that point, I don't know, we jumped through so many hoops, and at that point it was like, it was hard to be optimistic when you're in like the bed of a hospice house and you have something called the death gargle, and I could see the way she's breathing, barely even able to open her eyes. I don't think she was even opening her eyes, and we all sat like we're all around her bed. And I just remember we were playing church music like nonstop, even when she was in the hospital, like hours, like days of church music. But we were all around her bed. Our pastor came and he was praying with us. And it got to a point where her breathing started to slow down. I don't know, as her breathing was slowing down, the gargle got like softer and softer. And then they were constantly coming out checking her blood pressure, and they said it just kept on dropping. At that point, we knew she was going to pass. Like, we held up hope all the way till the end. And when she did pass, she took her last final breath, and that was, I would easily say, the roughest thing I've ever been through in my entire life. I cried so much. I don't think I've ever cried that hard in my entire life. Every muscle in my body was tense. I'm even crying now. It was so difficult to deal with. Like, the room got very hot, and it was just so bright. Someone said it was as if like God was coming through and like plucking her and taking her up there. That's what happened when my mom passed. That was the backstory, and up until then. So now I do want to talk about what happens after and what you deal with after, because those are also very important things as well. So after she did pass, as we were leaving the hospice, I'll back up. So when she did pass, it's like everybody, like my dad and then my two sisters, and it was a family. It was like very select few family. It was my aunt and uncle, very close with. But me, my dad, my two sisters, we like walked outside the hospice room, just like we sort of like went our separate ways, and I was just like laying in the grass. And it was hard, but at the same time, I did feel relief, and it was like a relief that, to my understanding, it was like she was no longer in pain, because she had like bed sores from being on the couch. She couldn't, so much pain in her bones, so much pain in her muscles, pain through chemo for having cancer for AIDS. Like all this terrible pain she's been through, she's no longer in pain. I know I'll see her again one day when I pass. Hopefully not anytime soon, but I'll see her one day. To be honest, that was that one core belief that just kept me going, and that's kept me going until now. And it's really what helped me through my recovery process. When I was laying on the grass, I was looking up. I think I called my girlfriend. I told her what happened. She started crying. It was very sad. I called some other friends. I didn't tell her. I think I called like one or two other people and told them. We had our final goodbyes. We each got like some time to just go in singly, like just by ourselves, just go see her by her body. And it's very weird. You would think the eyes would close. You would think the mouth would close. The eyes are open. Mouth is open. And it was weird. It was like I was talking to like a husk, because she wasn't in there. But I knew that. And then after that, they came, they took her body, they took her off. This is the part that they don't really talk about in like TV shows or anything like that. It's like exactly the moment right after. Thankfully, my family, my mom, like it's my mom's side of the family, they very inclusive. So they said, hey, after we're celebrating her life. So we all drove to our house. And it was a weird drive. Because in my head, I already had that mentality. Hey, I'm gonna see her again. So it was weird. I was like in a lot of pain. But at the same time, I was already starting my recovery process. It's what it felt like. But my two sisters, my dad, oh no, They weren't dealing with it well. My dad, remember he saying that he wishes it was him instead of her. My other sister was crying. Yeah, to the house. Everybody sort of went to their own rooms. Everybody was like broken. And I just remember hearing crying a lot. And I've never really seen my dad cry. I never have, actually, till that day. So it's that period after where you're at home. There's pictures of your mom everywhere, and she's not there. That's what does hit you very hard. Luckily, my extended family came through, and it's like they threw a party celebrating her life. Everybody's talking. Everybody came. And I really do appreciate them for that. Because, to be honest, we felt so empty that it was rough. We just felt really empty. After the extended family left, it was so weird waking up the next morning. Because we didn't really begin the funeral process yet. So it's just wake up the next morning like it's a regular morning. But mom's not there. And her wheelchair is still downstairs. Her clothes are in the closet. Her bed, like on her side of the bed, all her stuff is still on her dresser. It's like she was writing something one day and she didn't finish it because there's like a bookmark and her pen was right there. I think that's a very, very big thing. And it was like the very little things. My mom used to come and she used to stack up the little closet next to the bathroom with all like soap and all that kind of stuff and make it like all cute and nice. And then slowly start to see like a decline in that. Or she used to just come in and put like little things on her beds that she would use like to find out, come back, and like you would never see that again. Yeah, it was just stuff like that. And it made me realize certain things. Like you really take nothing with you when you pass. Her closet was full of clothes. It's like she's still there. Pictures are still there, and it does hit. Even now, like when I go home, it does hit. But I do remember there were days where I would just like cry because I would just miss her. It would just be something so small that would set it off. I think it was like I just went to call her about something, and I called the phone number and it's ringing, and midway I'm like, oh wow, like she's, and I would just start crying. It would like hit me like all over again. One big thing I really do recommend, two big things actually. When they say like if you want to see the body, say yes. Definitely go through and say yes. You need that closure. You really do. I know that after the funeral, I had to go back to college. Everybody had to go back do like their own thing with this tragedy and with this loss. When I went back, I immediately knew I enrolled in group therapy. Group therapy helped a lot. I didn't really think it would. I was like, oh, I don't really feel like talking about it. And thinking about it now, I think the reason I didn't want to talk about it was because, I don't know, there's points where like I feel like I was like a bad son. I feel that like, I don't know, I feel like I would sometimes try to like disassociate myself from the situation a little bit. Because I don't want all that sadness to hit. Because also when I would talk to her sometimes, like she was like a mom, which is good. But like also the other part of being a mom, like, oh no, you need to do this, you need to do this, this. I'm like, mom, I'm 24 going on 25. I'm like, I know how to drive. I'm a good driver. I know how to set up my doctor's appointment. Stuff like it was like little stuff, but it was so much. Now in retrospect, I'm looking back and I'm like, okay. I think it says she was about to pass, so she was trying to like give us everything. Yeah, I feel like a bad son because of that, and I really wish I could have like better. If I could go back, I would literally live at home, and I would be with her 24/7. Yeah, I had therapy. I knew that's what I needed, which is definitely something I recommend. Even if it's something you tried in the past, every therapist is different. Like I had a bad therapist once, and then I had an amazing therapist after I switched. The group therapy really showed me that there's people going through a similar thing. Like you're really not alone, and some of these people, they were going through something that was like really, really rough. It was grief counseling, I think. So it's like dealing with like a lost parent. There was a girl in there who mom passed. Sort of like similar conditions of mine. Yeah, it was different, but I think it definitely helped, and that definitely shot up my recovery process. The weird thing about losing someone is that it never goes away. It's not like, oh, you forget about this person. That person will always stay in your mind. I like to think of it as like, in your mind, you have like a shelf of things. And at first, when you do lose someone so close and dear to you, it's like this big black box. Over time, it becomes smaller and smaller to the point that it can just fit in your hand. And then when it gets to that point, you put it on your shelf. It'll always be there. It's something that you can look back at. And in the beginning, and then over time, it'll turn to the happy moments. And they'll get to a point where you'll be able to laugh and smile without crying. Or if you do cry, it's not tears of like overwhelming sadness. It's like this emotion. They'll always be there. And I feel like it'll be like that black box on the shelf. That's that's what I would say about losing someone. As I said, definitely recommend therapy. Definitely group therapy. It helps you not feel like you're like the only person dealing with this. Next, I'll move on to like some of the things that like a lot of people just don't know. When someone passes, the immediate response is like rest in peace or my condolences. I remember in group therapy, some people were upset because they say, I hate hearing that. It's like a repetitive phrase that's almost like automatic. And I can understand. But at the same time, nobody understands it until they go through it. It's literally impossible to think about how it would feel like to lose your parent, lose your mom or your dad or something until you actually go through that. Like my girlfriend, she tried to console me in a way when she has not been through something like that. And I love her for it. I say thank you. Like, I love the effort. I love that. But the same, I know she doesn't understand what it feels like to go through that. So it doesn't, it's like hard to connect on that level. So I would say, sort of try to see it from their point of view. They don't mean any ill will by it. They just don't know what to say because it's a very sort of like taboo topic way. And everybody just wants you to automatically be okay. They say, are you okay? Yeah, I'm doing better. Something like that. I mean, the reality is that, no, I'm not doing good at all. That's why I really only talk about my mom passing with like other people who've dealt with loss. Because there's that common ground, the common base. I don't even know if that's a word, but it does help. I would say the next thing would be, it does change the family dynamic. In my case, so with me and my dad, after my mom passed, I took a full semester off of school and I came to live back at the house because he was retiring from the military. All the kids were out the house and they were planning on traveling the world together doing all this, but then she passed right then. So he was living at the house by himself. And I was like, there's no way I can let him do that. He just lost his wife, 25 years. So I moved there, and me and my dad, we always had a connection of like father-son, but during that one period, our connection just grew. And I can really call him like a dad, a friend. Like, I love my dad. Like he's amazing. And we have a really good time to talk, express our emotions, cry together, everything. But it does change like the family dynamic. Like it changes everyone. Holidays don't become the same anymore. Even now, 2 years later, going back for Thanksgiving and Christmas and stuff like that, it does feel weird. I know that there's someone missing. And I'm constantly thinking, how are the rest of my family members doing? I'm constantly thinking, well, my mom would have done this, my mom would have done that. And it's just constant, especially since it's in the same house. So the family dynamic will change. I think it's just up to the family to get together and understand that, and then try to morph it into something that's bearable or something that's good, even though a parent is not there. Family trips are hard. I haven't taken a family trip in a very long time. We took one after my mom passed. It was fun with what we did. I think we went like whitewater rafting, but we were all definitely dealing with her passing, and it was very hard. Her birthday still hits hard. And one big thing was that my mom was the one who celebrated a lot about like every holiday, birthday, Christmas, everything. Like, so when my birthday came around, I didn't know I was doing it at the time, but I put so much pressure on my girlfriend. And I apologized to her about this after, but I put so much pressure on her because it was like the birthday wasn't up to like a certain expectation. And I was like, why am I acting like this? Like, why am I so emotional about this? Because like my mom would do the most for my birthday, which is what I loved. And without her there, it's like it wasn't happening. So I had to learn to understand that and to change that way of thinking. So a lot of maturity that goes when you lost someone. You definitely know that life is short. And I know that's so cliche, because you basically see that on every Instagram quote or TikTok or something, but my God, it's so true. Life is so short, and you never really know what someone's going through. Walking down the street, someone saw me, I feel like their first thought would be like, well, he just dealt with his mom passing. Because I took the ideology that if I'm hurting, I don't need to hurt other people. So even if I was hurting, I wouldn't go into a store upset, bumping people, doing something. I wouldn't do anything like that, because I'm just trying to push that off on someone else and trying to get that aggression, that anger, that sadness out. But they did nothing to do with that. That was a big thing. Dialing it back. Yeah, and even today it still bothers me. Like, I look at her pictures from time to time, and it's gotten to a point now where I can look at them and I remember good memories. I still do miss her. I want her at my wedding. I want her at my graduation. I want her when I got into med school. I want her there for everything. I still have not been able to look back at text. I don't know. I don't know. I just get so apprehensive about it. I think about it, or I just don't. I can't really let you guys know. I really don't have no idea why. That's something I need to explore. I think right now I'm just trying to help build my family, because I think out of all of us, I may be. I don't know. But I may like the most like stable. But I feel like it's up to me to make sure everybody else is stable as well. And I think I can handle that. I think I'm in a good place emotionally where I can do that. Yeah, losing a parent is very hard. And I know that if you are watching this and you have just experienced losing a parent, or if it's leading up to that, it's very difficult going forward. But it is manageable. And it does not seem like it in the place that you're in, that it will ever get better. But I would say, trust me, I know you don't know why yet, but it really does. And better as a sense of like that waves of sadness, or like that lost feeling, like a feeling of you being broken and torn out. It does get better. I would say definitely get into some therapy, without a doubt. Talking to friends, talking to other people who have experienced it, it helps. But you need that therapist to really walk you down that path. Check in on your family, because everybody's dealing with it differently, and it does change people. And it feels so weird at first. And yeah, I would say just cherish every moment that you have with that loved one. If they're still there, definitely tell them that you love them. A lot of people don't hear that. Friendships is a big one. After something like that happened to me, it's like not everybody's capable of having a discussion about a parent passing. And not everybody's capable of consoling someone like that, or even have a conversation like that. I learned that very quick. And of all my friends, I think I can only talk to maybe like, I think 4 people. And out of those 4 people, only 2 would understand because they've been through something similar. Definitely those are the tips. That's how it's like to lose a parent. I think I'm more so told my experience than like it being more general, but that's all I know. If you guys want to hear something, I don't know, some more stories about it, or maybe like some deeper thinking, and then come back and revisit the topic, let me know. It is good, I think, for me to talk about like this, even being here on VR. Didn't expect to cry today. Definitely did. But I feel like weights have been lifted. So once again, thank you very much for watching this. If you want to like, comment, subscribe because you like the content, yeah, please do. It helps the channel, helps the algorithms. Yeah, thank you. And if you are dealing with something like this, like, please reach out. It helps. It really does help to have like other people there, or like someone there. And I will reach out to me. I will personally try my best to reach back out and really be there for you. So thank you. And thank you for sharing the intimate moment with me, and thank you for everything. I'll see you later. Thank you for joining this episode of VR Therapy. Hope you tune into the next, and hope you check out some other videos, and thanks. See you later.